Welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring Mindset, the New Psychology of Success
Oh, yeah.
by Carol Dweck. And this book really got me thinking about
Yeah.
how much our beliefs actually shape our reality. And so many people talk about
Right.
mindset and what does that really mean? We're going to be focusing on how these mindsets can impact us in different areas of life,
Absolutely.
like relationships, or even sports and personal development.
What's fascinating about this book is that it doesn't just stay in these abstract concepts.
Right.
But Dweck uses a lot of real-world examples that are very compelling to illustrate her point.
Totally. Like, did you know that people like Darwin and Tolstoy
Oh, wow.
were considered ordinary children?
I did not.
It makes you wonder what we all could accomplish if we had the right mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from the get-go.
And that's exactly what Dweck digs into. These two fundamental mindsets, fixed and growth.
Okay, I'm fascinated by this whole idea. How does having a fixed mindset actually show up in someone's life?
Well, with a fixed mindset, you believe that qualities like intelligence and talent are basically set in stone, and this can lead to a fear of failure because any setback feels like proof that you're just not good enough.
Right.
People with this mindset tend to avoid challenges, they give up easily, and they even view effort as a sign of weakness.
Oh, so they're almost protecting their ego by not even trying.
Exactly. Dweck gives this anecdote about a child who preferred to stick with easier puzzles, claiming they had already mastered the harder ones.
Oh, wow.
It's a classic example of how fixed mindset can lead to self-sabotage.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, then, what does a growth mindset look like in action?
A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work.
Hmm.
So instead of fearing challenges, you embrace them. Effort is seen as the path to mastery, and setbacks are just opportunities to learn and grow.
And Dweck uses the story of Christopher Reeve to illustrate this point, right?
Yes, after his accident, Reeve was told he would likely never regain any movement.
Wow.
But he refused to accept that limitation, and he started a really rigorous exercise program that defied all expectations.
Yeah.
It's a powerful example of how a growth mindset can lead to really remarkable achievements, even in the face of adversity.
That story always gives me chills. It's a reminder that our limitations are often self-imposed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've seen how these mindsets can manifest in general, but let's get specific. How does a fixed mindset impact something as personal as our relationships?
Well, in a fixed mindset, you're constantly evaluating and judging not just yourself,
Right.
but also your partner flaws are seen as permanent deal breakers, and you may be very quick to give up when things get tough.
Yeah, so it seems like a fixed mindset can lead to a lot of unnecessary heartbreak
Absolutely.
because you're constantly looking for perfection instead of focusing on growth and compatibility.
Exactly. Dweck shares a story of a woman named Penelope who kept finding great partners, but would sabotage those relationships over relatively minor flaws because she saw those flaws as unchangeable.
Wow, that's a recipe for being perpetually single.
Yeah.
On the other hand, then how does a growth mindset lead to healthier relationships?
With a growth mindset, you are more accepting of imperfections, both in yourself and in your partner.
Right.
You understand that everybody makes mistakes and relationships take work, and the focus is on growing together and navigating challenges as a team.
We've seen how mindset impacts our personal connections, but also has implications for our professional lives,
Absolutely.
particularly when it comes to leadership.
Mhm.
What does Dweck have to say about that?
This raises a really important question about the kind of leaders we need, especially in our rapidly changing world. Dweck dives into research comparing two types of leaders, what she calls the Enron-type leaders, who often have a fixed mindset,
Okay.
versus Wurzel-type leaders who exemplify a growth mindset.
So Enron, the company, infamous for its corporate fraud scandal, had leaders with a fixed mindset.
Yes. The research suggests that these types of leaders are often obsessed with appearing brilliant and prioritize short-term gains over long-term growth. They avoid taking responsibility, they blame others for failures, and surround themselves with yes-men who won't challenge their views.
Oh, so it's really a recipe for disaster.
Exactly as the Enron case clearly demonstrated.
And on the other side of the coin, you have these Wurzel-type leaders.
Precisely. These are leaders who are constantly learning, questioning.
Right.
They encourage teamwork, they create cultures of open feedback, and they aren't afraid to acknowledge their own limitations or seek diverse perspectives.
And Dweck uses the example of Lou Gerstner's turnaround of IBM to illustrate this, right?
Absolutely. Gerstner was brought in when IBM was on the brink of collapse, And he fostered this culture of learning and adaptability and encouraged employees to embrace new technologies and new ways of thinking.
Right.
It was a really dramatic shift that ultimately saved the company.
So having a growth mindset in business can be the difference between success and failure, not just for individuals,
Yeah.
but for entire companies.
Right.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, I'm curious how this idea of mindset plays out in a field like sports where natural talent is often emphasized. What did Dweck find?
Dweck really challenges this myth of natural talent.
Hmm.
She argues that even the greatest athletes achieve success through hard work, dedication, and a belief in continuous improvement.
And she contrasts the mindsets of two baseball players, Billy Beane, who seemed to have all the natural talent in the world, and Lenny Dykstra, who is known more for his grit and determination.
Exactly. Bean had the potential to be a superstar, but would crumble under pressure because he had a fixed mindset and was terrified of making mistakes.
Oh, wow.
He saw failure as a reflection of his worth. Dykstra, on the other hand, was not as naturally gifted, but he had an incredible work ethic and a growth mindset. He was fearless and saw every setback as a chance to learn and get better.
So even in a field that's seemingly dominated by physical prowess mindset, can be the game changer.
Yep.
It's incredible how this concept applies across so many different aspects of life. What I found really interesting is how Dweck also explored the impact of mindset on personal growth.
Yeah, that's a really crucial aspect of her work. She emphasizes how a growth mindset helps you embrace challenges, learn from mistakes, and see setbacks as opportunities for growth in all areas of life.
And one of the things that really stuck with me was her point about praising effort and strategies over praising intelligence or talent.
Right. She talks about how praising fixed traits can actually be counterproductive.
Hmm.
For example, she shares the story about a mother who realized that praising her son for being smart made him afraid to tackle challenging tasks
Oh.
for fear of looking not smart.
It makes you think about how our words and the way we praise others can really shape their beliefs about themselves.
Absolutely. When we focus on effort and the learning process, we encourage resilience and a love of learning.
Right.
It's about praising the process, not just the outcome.
Dweck dedicates a good chunk of the book to discussing how we can actually shift to a growth mindset. It's not a quick fix, is it?
It's definitely a journey. You know, Dweck emphasizes the importance of recognizing those fixed mindset thoughts and actively challenging them.
Right.
It's about becoming aware of that inner voice that says, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be able to do this.
Sounds like a lot of self-reflection and almost rewiring how you think.
Yeah.
So how do you start shifting to a growth mindset? Where do you even begin?
Well, it starts with awareness. Pay attention to those moments when you shy away from challenges or feel threatened by other people's successes. Once you can identify those fixed mindset patterns, then you can start to reframe your thinking.
Okay. So you start noticing those thoughts. What then?
Then you can start asking yourself questions like, what can I learn from this situation? Or what strategies can I use to improve? So instead of dwelling on your shortcomings, you're shifting your focus to growth and learning.
So it's about taking action and focusing on what you can control. Dweck also talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with a growth mindset community, right?
Yes. Having a supportive network, whether it's friends, family, colleagues, can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, being around people who believe in your potential and encourage you to stretch yourself can be incredibly motivating. Dweck even shares a story about a former graduate student who, after learning about growth mindset, was able to tackle the really daunting task of revising her research paper
Oh, wow.
with renewed confidence. And it's all about shifting from a fear of judgment to a love of learning.
It's like that saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But what about the people in our lives who are stuck in their fixed mindset ways?
Right.
How do we deal with them?
That's a great question. Dweck talks about the importance of understanding where those fixed mindset beliefs are coming from.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, often they stem from a need to protect themselves from failure and judgment.
So they're not necessarily being stubborn or difficult. They're just operating from a place of fear.
Exactly. Once we understand that we can approach conversations with more empathy,
Right.
instead of trying to force our growth mindset perspective on them, we can focus on creating a safe space for them to explore their own beliefs and maybe even start to see the possibilities of growth.
It sounds like shifting to a growth mindset isn't just about changing our own thinking. It's about creating an environment that supports growth for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about fostering a culture where effort, learning, and collaboration are valued over innate talent and competition.
You know, before diving into this book, I was a bit skeptical of this whole mindset thing. I thought it was just another self-help buzzword.
Yeah.
But Dweck's research is really compelling. It really gets you thinking about how much our beliefs can shape our experiences.
That's the power of this book.
Mhm.
It challenges us to question our assumptions about ourselves and others,
Right.
and it gives us a new lens through which to view challenges and setbacks.
Exactly. And it empowers us to take control of our own growth.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm already thinking about all the ways I can apply these ideas in my relationships at work, even in my hobbies.
That's the beauty of it. Once you start to see the world through a growth mindset lens, it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities.
It definitely takes the pressure off. It's not about being perfect. It's about striving to learn and grow a little bit every day.
Right.
Speaking of challenges, Dweck talks a lot about fixed mindset triggers.
Yeah.
What are some of the most common situations that cause us to slip back into those old ways of thinking?
Well, one of the biggest triggers is criticism. When we receive negative feedback, it's so easy to fall back into that fixed mindset of, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be able to do
Oh
this.
yeah, I can totally relate to that. I definitely have a tendency to take criticism personally.
It's a natural reaction, but with a growth mindset, we can learn to see criticism as an opportunity for growth.
Mm,
Instead of getting defensive, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this feedback? How can I use it to improve?
I like that. Turning those tough moments into learning experiences. What about other triggers?
Another big one is social comparison. In today's world with social media constantly showing us these curated versions of people's lives, it's easy to get caught in the trap of comparing ourselves to others
Right.
and feeling inadequate.
It's so true. It's like everyone else is succeeding effortlessly and we're the only ones struggling.
It's easy to fall into that thinking. But the key is to shift our focus from external validation to internal growth.
Hmm.
So instead of comparing ourselves to others, we can ask, what progress have I made? What am I proud of? What steps can I take to move closer to my goals?
I love that reframe. Dweck also mentions how fixed mindset can show up in areas like education and parenting.
Yeah.
She talks about how praising intelligence can actually backfire.
Yes. She shares a study where researchers praised one group of students for their intelligence and another group for their effort. And the students who were praised for their intelligence actually became more risk-averse and less willing to tackle challenging tasks because they were afraid of looking not smart.
So instead of saying, you're so smart,
Mm.
we should focus on praising effort and the process.
Exactly.
Like, wow, you worked really hard on that.
Exactly. When we praise effort and strategies, we encourage kids to embrace the learning process and see mistakes as opportunities for growth.
Right.
We're teaching them that intelligence is not a fixed trait, but something they can develop through dedication and hard work.
It's incredible how much our words and actions can shape a child's belief in themselves. It's a huge responsibility.
It is, but it's also an incredible opportunity. By fostering a growth mindset in our children, we're giving them the tools to navigate challenges, embrace learning, and reach their full potential.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of shifting to a growth mindset.
Yeah.
But how do we actually make it stick? It's one thing to read about it,
Right.
but how do we integrate it into our lives in a practical way?
Well, Dweck offers several strategies for putting the growth mindset into practice. And one of the most effective is to develop a growth mindset mantra,
Okay.
a short positive statement you can repeat to yourself when you're facing a challenge or feeling discouraged.
I love that idea. Do you have any examples?
Something like, I can learn anything I set my mind to, or mistakes help me grow. The key is to choose a phrase that resonates with you and that you can easily remember when you need it most.
It's like giving yourself a little pep talk
Exactly.
when you need it most. What other techniques does Dweck suggest?
Another powerful tool is keeping a growth mindset journal.
Okay.
It's a place to reflect on experiences, celebrate successes, learn from setbacks. You can track your progress, identify your fixed mindset triggers, and develop strategies for overcoming them.
It sounds like a great way to become more aware of your thinking patterns and consciously work on shifting your mindset.
Exactly. It's about making a conscious effort to cultivate a growth mindset.
Dweck also talks about finding growth mindset role models. Who are those and how do we find them?
These are people who embody the qualities that you admire and who inspire you to strive for more. It could be a successful entrepreneur, a dedicated athlete, a resilient artist, or even a friend or family member who always seems to embrace challenges with a positive attitude.
So it's about surrounding yourself with people who inspire you
Yeah.
and demonstrate a growth mindset in action.
Yes, and it doesn't have to start there. Building a supportive community, a group, a mastermind, even just a close group of friends can make a world of difference.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders rooting for your growth. It sounds like shifting to a growth mindset takes effort and commitment.
It does,
Yeah.
but it's a process that is well worth it. When we embrace a growth mindset, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities.
Yeah.
We become more resilient, more adaptable, more creative, and ultimately more fulfilled.
It really does sound like embracing a growth mindset can be incredibly transformative.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Both personally and professionally. But I think it's easy to get caught up in misconceptions about what it actually means to have a growth mindset.
Yeah.
What are some of the most common ones you've come across?
One big misconception is that a growth mindset means believing that anything is possible no matter what.
Right.
And that's not really what it's about. It's not about denying our limitations,
Okay.
but rather recognizing that our abilities are not fixed and we can always strive to learn, improve, and push our boundaries.
So it's not about blind optimism,
Yeah,
but a belief in our capacity to grow.
exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What are some other misunderstandings?
Another one is this idea that you have to be positive and upbeat all the time if you have a growth mindset.
Oh, right.
You know, we're all human. We experience a range of emotions.
Yeah.
A growth mindset isn't about denying those negative feelings.
So it's okay to feel frustrated or discouraged sometimes.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
what we do with those feelings that matters.
Right.
A growth mindset helps us to acknowledge process and use them to fuel our growth. So instead of getting stuck in the negativity, we can ask, what can I learn from this? Or how can I use this setback to improve?
Turning those negative experiences into learning opportunities. I love that.
Yeah.
What about the idea that developing a growth mindset is like flipping a switch? That once you've got it, you're good to go.
That's another common misconception. It's not a one-time fix.
Right.
Developing a growth mindset is an ongoing process
Mhm.
that takes effort and practice. It's about becoming aware of those fixed mindset thoughts and actively challenging them. It's choosing to see those challenges as opportunities even when it's hard. And it's about creating an environment that encourages growth.
It's a journey, not a destination. One of the things I found really eye-opening in Dweck's book was how she highlighted that even geniuses have to work hard for their achievements.
Right.
You know, we tend to look at successful people and assume it all came naturally.
It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking that some people are just born with talent or intelligence.
Yeah.
But Dweck's research shows that even the most gifted individuals achieve success through dedication, perseverance, and a willingness to embrace challenges.
And she uses the example of Michael Jordan,
Yes.
widely considered the greatest basketball player of all time.
Exactly. People often focus on his athleticism and skill, but they overlook his incredible work ethic
Right.
and his unwavering belief in his ability to improve. He wasn't afraid to push himself, practice relentlessly, and learn from his mistakes.
It's a powerful reminder that success is not just about talent, it's about mindset. And she also talks about Seabiscuit, the racehorse who became a legend despite being considered an underdog.
Right. Seabiscuit wasn't the biggest or the fastest horse, but he had an indomitable spirit
Yeah?
and a team that believed in him. It's a story about the power of resilience, determination, and belief.
And it highlights that achieving something remarkable is often a team effort. Dweck talks about the importance of creating a growth mindset culture in teams and organizations, doesn't she?
Yes. She emphasizes that when people feel safe to take risks, make mistakes, and learn from each other, they can achieve some incredible things.
And she uses the example of the Boston Red Sox breaking their infamous World Series curse in 2004.
Exactly. One of the key factors was that shift in their team culture, moving away from individual stardom toward a more collaborative, growth-oriented approach.
So fostering a growth mindset environment is about individual development and creating a culture of learning and collaboration.
Precisely. And that's applicable in any setting: schools, businesses, sports teams, even families.
Right.
When people feel supported and encouraged to grow, amazing things can happen.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Dweck's work, what's the one key message you hope listeners take away from this?
The most important takeaway is that our beliefs about ourselves and our abilities have a profound impact on our lives.
Right.
When we embrace a growth mindset, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. We become more resilient, adaptable, creative, and ultimately more fulfilled.
And that's an inspiring note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of mindset.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been a